breaking his pencil lead. You don't see those other YouTube stars doing that. What an amateur. Speaking of which, I don't wish to brag, and I don't want you to think anything differently of me, but I do have 3 people following me now on YouTube, 2 of which have encouraged me with comments such as, "Great content. Post more content." The fact that they are almost all 3 certainly bots does not discourage me in the least. Okay, back into the trenches, the art trenches. So I'm going to look at this thing. I'm figuring I'm right about here on this thing. So I'm going to, and that's based on, I don't know, looking at this thing, whereabouts am I on here? I'm about right there. So I want to follow this thing. I'm looking at it. What does this thing do? Oh, it comes up, 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 up. It is unbelievable how much up there is. There is lots and lots of up. When I look at mine, can you see how much up there is? Now that might change, depending on what your shoe looks like. But for me, I'm just kind of like, how big does that feel? Based on what I've got here, what does it do? It comes way up here before it starts coming over. Now I gotta take this whole thing with a big grain of salt. I come over here, what does that do? It's coming out a little. Okay? And then I'm sort of looking at that, it's right about in here. What does it do? It comes up. Which way is up? Up is this way. Up, up, up. Follow the bubbles. Okay? Now I got to think about that shape. What does it do as it comes up here and comes over? And I'm going to turn that shape into perspective. But you can see that I'm holding it straight up to my face, not necessarily in that angle, and then I might switch it over. How far does this thing come up? It comes up a ways. But I've got to get that shape. And I think it comes up even higher. Something like that. This thing curls around, comes over. On its way this way. Can you see what I'm doing with this MRI slice? Slice, 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 slice. Now, depending on your shoe, this thing might actually come over some stitching or whatever, depending on where you're at. This thing's kind of down in here, so I don't have any stitching. But some shoes, it's got like there's stitching stuff going on here. With this, I might think about, okay, what does this thing do? I'm thinking back here at this point. Comes up here a ways. The one thing I didn't do is I didn't draw this little divot that's in the back of my shoe. I should probably spend some time with that. Figure that out. I'll draw that off camera because your shoe doesn't do that and you don't have to watch me doing that. See what I'm saying? Your shoe doesn't do that. Mine does. It will be important for me, as I come up here to draw that shape. As it comes up here, comes out, there's another stitch right here. It's going to come up, up, up. The other thing that I want to start thinking about is I want to think about, well, what does this do? What is the mouth of this? Here's the back. It's right about there. That's the center line of my heel. Center line of the heel. Center line of my Achilles tendon up here, just about. And this is a function of this action down in here. What does it do? Again, I'm taking this with a grain of salt, right? But that's going to come down here a ways. I'm going to start using these landmark places on my shoe to start drawing this stuff. Does that make sense? I'm going to draw this line. I'll show you this in a minute after I've spent a little bit of time here. But I need to find, like, what does this do? This comes up here a ways. If this thing's coming down at this angle, I'm looking at this line, I might think about, well, okay, that may look like I'm doing that line, but I'm actually trying to find this side of it to this side of it. That means that this thing's going to come down here to find that. And as I come over here, it'll find it on the other side too. And in doing that, and finding that, that's going to tell me where this thing is. I want to find this detail on here because I want to make a couple of points here. This isn't quite right. I look at that, that's not right. It's amazing how, just 2 minutes of looking at something else can allow you to see that you've drawn something really poorly. Give you a little bit more objectivity. You'll notice that you will do a drawing or a painting or some work of art that you think is pretty nifty, and then you'll come back to it 6 months later and you will be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I showed that to anybody. That's okay. That's called growth. Growth is good. I might spend some more time with this thing. But it does something a whole lot like that, shape-wise. Okay? I want to think about that. And I'm going to want to find another one up here. What does this thing do? What's it doing here? It's much more square over here. Here it has that kind of mountain shape. Here it's much more of a square kind of shape, a rounded square. So I'm going to find that. I'm going to find that. I'm going to find another one back here. I might want to find 3 to 5 of these shapes. So I'm going to do a little bit of work offline just to get this shape right. The other thing I might want to find are places on the heel that are landmarks, like this thing. Okay. Anyways, I'll be back.